So my name is Chido Mpemba. I'm originally from Zimbabwe, but I call myself an African citizen because getting into this role, I'm representing the whole of Africa, the continent at large, young Africans in the diaspora. And getting into this position as well, I see it as a huge responsibility that I've been entrusted with to ensure that I represent the voices across the 55 member states and that their needs reach the policymakers, the decision makers too. And my aspirations is to see an Africa where young people come together in order to achieve the Africa that we want. According to Agenda 2063 Aspiration 6, that already speaks of an Africa whose development will rely on its people and particularly the potential of its youth. So I think it's the time that we harness on this demographic, where it goes beyond that young people are the largest population, but what are we going to do with the value that they bring? And I'm being very intentional about that in terms of bringing young people on this journey. How can we ensure that we achieve economic development, social development, peace and security across Africa, an Africa that's inclusive of young people, even within their governance structures? And I'll give you another example in the ways that I've been doing this since getting appointed into my office. I've been very intentional and deliberate to ensure that I take time to engage with young people on the ground. Even through my social media platforms where young people reach out, I make sure to get time to engage and to speak to them. And some come and, approach the office and, have intentions to volunteer to also provide their services within the office in terms of how they can serve the continent at large. And I've been very open as well to ensure that they come as part of this journey and that we get to create and co-create the Africa that we want together. As I'm in it, yes, I'm representing the young people, but it's also important that as I represent them, we walk on this journey together. We deliver on this mandate together. In addition to that, I've also just recently rolled out a digital survey, just so that I can hear more of young people's voices, what they think should be the priority areas within the office, looking at the challenges that they've been faced with and what they propose as solutions. I'm also intentionally going on a physical listening tour, again on the ground, to talk to young people in communities, to get to experience what they experience as well at grassroots level. Through my office, that as young people were coming together for activism and we look at the challenges that we're faced with. Some of the challenges that we're faced with might actually be common across the continent, but there are some challenges that might be different across cutting countries. And I think it's important that the voices of young people be heard through their activism, through the challenges that they're faced with across the different countries, across member states, and some that we find the challenges that are common to us as young people. So I think their voice being heard, even as I represent them and I represent their voices, they should ensure that whatever challenges that they're faced with, whatever they propose as well as solutions to the challenges they're faced with, even within their communities, that we work together and we create programs that also look at that at national level, at regional level, at continental level. My office is very open to hear those suggestions. And as I mentioned before, that we have the digital survey that we've rolled out, but most importantly so, they're able to communicate through our social media platforms, even through our email that we have available for young people to be able to contribute. Not only that, but also creating platforms where young people are able to speak and voice their opinions. I mean, just speaking as an example, where we've just concluded right now with a pre-youth event ahead of the Malabo Head of State Summit. But that was an opportunity for young people to come onto this platform and also be able to provide recommendations that will be presented at the Humanitarian Head of State Summit that is coming up. So these are just different examples of how young people can participate, being very intentional, making sure that, when we have these events, be it virtually, be it physically, that they're also represented and their voices are heard as part of the recommendations that we will be able to present to head of states and to the governments. So it's quite a challenging role, but also exciting in that I know that as I build this story, I'm not building it alone. I'm walking this journey with the young people, my fellow peers and my fellow youth leaders.